Hi F&M students, this is Jonathan Groff making you a video. Joanna Underhill invited me to come and do a masterclass for you, but obviously because of the current situation, I'm unable to do that. So she got a whole bunch of questions from you guys, and in lieu of being able to work with you and talk to you in person, I'm gonna answer some of your questions. So I'm just gonna start at the beginning and go through them. This might be kind of long. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. Take what's useful, throw away what is not useful. And thank you so much for your questions. Here we go. The first several questions are from Molly Minter, class of 2019. The first one is, I've been in situations before where as an actor, I don't always see eye to eye with a director. How do you go about this in a professional and polite way? Do you feel you are more in service to the director, the playwright, the audience, or the character? Molly, excellent first question. Don't always see eye to eye with the director. That's hard. It's a hard one, and I've certainly had it before. Patience, collaboration, deep breaths, pick your battles, know that it's all play and dress up in the end. Stand your ground, be passionate, and fight for the things that you really believe in. And try to figure out before you work with the director what their vision is, what they're thinking, so that you can make the collaboration part as easy as possible. If you have a meeting with them, if you have an audition with them, treat an audition with a director as an audition for them just as much as they're auditioning you, because you want to work together as a team. I feel like everyone, the director, the playwright, and the actor, should always, at all times, be in service of the audience together. It means nothing, theater or TV or film means nothing if there's no audience to witness it. So hopefully we're all as a team trying to create something for an audience. And David Fincher actually said to me during Mindhunter, something that's always stuck with me, which is he really believes acting to be an act of generosity. So I would say lead with generosity. And try to be patient with those directors you don't see eye to eye with. What has been your most rewarding project to date and why? I would probably have to say Spring Awakening, because it was every dream I ever had come true. It completely changed me as an actor, getting to do that material 8 times a week for a year and a half. And it sent my life in a whole complete different direction at a very tender age at 21. And so I feel really lucky to have done that project. Next question. How do you find encouragement and hope within yourself or within the world when things aren't working out? That's another good question, Molly. Molly, right? Yeah. I would say focus on the things that you can control. That's probably the biggest thing. The problems of the world, trying to get encouragement from others is always not good. Find the things that you can control. I can control exercising and taking care of myself physically. I can control learning my lines perfectly. I can control finding inspiration by watching movies and by watching theater. I can control my ability to listen to other people. I can control my level of collaboration with the other people in the room. I would say focus on the things that you can control, and that helps me kind of get out of my head and not be as intimidated by the things in the world that aren't working out. And it helps me to feel productive. And exercise. Exercise is a big one. Makes me feel so much more mentally sound. What have been your experiences in originating roles, specifically in theater? Do you prefer this to playing pre-existing roles? Or is that just comparing apples to oranges? It is kind of comparing apples to oranges. There is kind of nothing more thrilling than the first night of a new play that's never been performed before, because no one knows how the audience is going to react. So I love that adrenaline shot. But then getting the opportunity to jump into something like Little Shop of Horrors, which is the last play that I did, and getting to learn so much from a perfect piece of material is also incredibly valuable. I would say do as much of both as you possibly can. There's so much to learn from originating something, and there's so much to glean from doing material that just works, that really can transform you as an actor. And this is her final question. In today's COVID-19 society, how can we as artists help to tell stories that advocate for those in need? Wow, great question. I would say as far as advocacy, it's incredibly personal. I would recommend finding those organizations and groups that speak to you personally, and then invest your time, energy, and money into them. But that's everybody. Everybody has, I think, deep down a personal pull to certain specific groups and organizations. So I would say to listen to whatever that is and follow that impulse. Okay, we've got Helen Boucher, class of 22. I think I pronounced your name wrong. I apologize. Helen's question is, as a Frozen fan, what was your favorite part of working on the Frozen films? How was your experience working on the first film different than the second? I'm glad you're a Frozen fan. It was so fun. Doing a Disney movie is like pretending to be in a Disney movie. At least it was for me when I was a little kid and I'd be alone in my bedroom acting things out. That's what doing a voice for a Disney character is like, except there's just a microphone in front of you while you play pretend. So that part is really fun. The whole creative team was a blast. And the biggest difference between the first and second was I felt more comfortable on the second one because it was the same directors, Jen and Chris, and Bobby and Kristen Lopez, the composers. And I felt a level of like sort of familial love in the room that made it more fun for me than the first one. Although I'm sure that the creators were more stressed because they had to live up to the first one, but I'm not thinking of that as much as a voice actor. Okay, Katie Catterham, class of 22. Thank you for your kind words. What was it like being part of the original cast of Hamilton? Did you know that the musical would blow up in popularity? I felt like I won the lottery with Hamilton because Brian Darcy James was the original king off Broadway and had to leave that production early to do another show. Lynn texted me, asked me if I would come be in Hamilton. I said yes. I had no idea what Hamilton was. I showed up at the Public. I saw Hamilton. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I get to be in this. So I felt really lucky, probably is the word I would use. And did you know the musical would blow up in popularity? Yes. Because seeing Hamilton is so mind-bending. How could it not be a global sensation? Okay, next we have Joe Bear, class of 2021. Joe Bear, it has 10 questions, and I'm just gonna answer them all. Here we go. What is one moment where you've struggled to stay in character on stage? Try not to laugh at Christian Borle in Little Shop of Horrors. What does your research/preparation look like when you first get cast in a role? Does it vary? It does vary, and I never went to college to study acting or voice or theater or anything. And I think partially because of that, I start every experience feeling like, wow, I don't know how I'm going to do this one. It's kind of like a blank slate. I don't have a set personal process that I'm committed to. I let the project tell me what the process is going to be. For example, the latest one was them shooting The Matrix. So, sorry, I'm getting a thing. Fight training. That was a whole thing that I'd never done before. So that getting a trainer and getting physically prepared for that. Little Shop, it was getting the music ahead of time because singing is the hardest thing for me in a musical and building up the stamina of the voice. and learning the lines cold before the first day of rehearsal, because the lines aren't going to change. So getting off book before the first day, that was my preparation for that. Okay, just as some examples. What is the most helpful piece of acting advice you have been given during a period of time when you doubted your abilities? The most helpful piece of acting advice when you doubt your abilities. I would say whenever I'm starting to get into my head and I'm feeling neurotic, I'll focus on the other person. That to me is the best way to get over your self-doubt, is stop thinking about yourself and focus on what you should be focusing on, which is what is happening in the scene. What is that person saying? How are they saying it? What is the audience? How is the audience reacting? Getting out of your head and focusing on listening, even word by word, to what the other person is saying really helps me get out of my head. What is one musical theater role you think you would be perfectly suited for? And what is one musical theater role that you think you would not be a good fit for? Okay. Weirdly, that's the same. My answer is the same. So I've always wanted to be Maria in The Sound of Music, and I've always wanted to be Eliza Doolittle in My Fair Lady. And I think I'm perfectly suited for those roles in a way where when I see them, I ache with desire to be them. But at the same time, for obvious reasons, it's not a good fit. What are you doing during this lockdown period to keep yourself engaged and connected with folks? I've got a classic movie FaceTime group where we watch 2 to 4 classic movies over the course of about a week, and then we FaceTime and talk about them. I'm working out a lot. I'm reading books. I'm reading Sapiens right now. I'm FaceTiming with my family. I'm cooking. That's making me feel creative. What are some of the similarities and differences you found between working on Broadway and working in TV and film? I would say that TV and film is like a sprint and Broadway is like a long distance run. I would say that's the biggest difference, in that when you show up on set in the morning to do a scene, that's the only time you're ever going to do that scene. So it takes all of your focus and concentration to make sure you do your very best that day, and then that scene goes away and never appears again in your life unless you do reshoots. On Broadway, you're doing the same thing 8 times a week. It's like running a marathon. I would say that's the biggest difference. Similarities would be the truth is always the most compelling. I mean, the similarity, I guess, is it's all storytelling in the end, just different mediums. Okay, next question. What are some tips or tricks you have for keeping each performance different when you're doing a long run? Tips or tricks. I would say it's shocking how, who you are one day, at least I feel this way, who I am one day is not who I wake up feeling the next day. Some days you wake up feeling not in a good mood. Some days you wake up feeling ready to attack the world. Month to month, your life changes. You get into relationships. You have breakups. Your friendships evolve. Things happen. While that's all happening to you, that's happening to everybody in the cast that you're performing with. And every night there's a new audience. So I would say being open, it's a simple thing, kind of just being open to the new energy of whatever is happening that day. You don't have to force keeping each performance different. I think if you're open to it, will naturally evolve that way. That's my tip or trick. If you could spend a day with any of the characters you've played, which one would you choose and why? I guess Kristoff, because it would be so bizarre to hang out with a cartoon. Are there any places in particular that you like to visit when you come to Lancaster? Oh yeah, I love EPAC, I love the Fulton, I love the Creamery in Strasbourg, and my parents' house. What is the best food you've ever cooked for yourself? I, this week, learned how to cook a French omelet, and it was pretty fun. Shira Gould, class of 20. Any chance you could get me Hamilton tickets? I don't have the hookup anymore. I'm very sorry. Do you sing King George's songs in the shower? I do not. I don't. Do you think there will be a season 3 of Mindhunter? I have no idea, and I hope so. Stephen Kopitz, class of 22. Do you have any advice for a guy trying to start a career in singing? Also, my mother adores you. Hello to your mother, Stephen. Any advice for a guy trying to start a career in singing? Singing has always been tied to acting for me, to musicals. So I don't know how to do a career in singing, how to start that up. But I would say sing what you love and have a good time. And if it hurts while you're singing, you should probably stop doing that. But other than that, I learned how to sing from listening to other people sing and just singing a lot on my own. Okay, now we've got the French TA, French language TA from F&M. Sadrine F. Rajanarivoni. I'm so sorry. I know I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Sadrine, I think, is how you pronounce your first name, and I apologize for saying your name wrong. How did Mindhunter change your views on mankind and serial killers, and what did you think of Holden's character evolution? I didn't know anything about serial killers. I was not a true crime person, I was a total newbie. So I learned everything about everything that they talk about on that show was a lesson to me. Probably the craziest thing is just that the reality of sociopathy and a lack of human empathy exists in human beings is chilling. And also that it is kind of impossible to categorize darkness. What do you think of Holden's character evolution? I loved it, and I felt so lucky to play that part. And I really had. It's funny you say Holden's character evolution. The evolution of that character was so much fun. Was so much fun to play, and those actors on that show are incredible, and getting to work with David Fincher was a total dream. So that getting to act out that character evolution was a blast. This is from Corrine Richter, class of 22, and I just have to say I'm sorry if I'm saying anybody's name wrong. Corrine says, what were some of your favorite moments working with Lea Michele on Spring Awakening, and how was it then getting to work with her again on Glee? Favorite moments working with Lea, we would laugh so hard because we were doing such not absurd, we were just doing such dark material, and we were making love, and I beat her with a stick, and we would cry and scream, and we just got very close because the age we were and the material we were doing. And then we would just laugh, like how you laugh with people in your family or your close friends, sometimes about nothing, when you just cry laughing. That are probably my favorite memories of that. And then getting to work with her again on Glee was like if you got to do a TV show with your friends from high school. It was so fun. Okay, and her other question is, I was really involved in theater in high school, but I've lost some touch with it since going to college, since I don't have time to be in a show. How do you stay involved even while not in a show, if at all? I go see theater all the time. It's my great addiction. I see plays all the time. I saw shows when I was in Pittsburgh, shooting Mindhunter. In New York, every time I'm there, I'm seeing shows all the time. My parents make fun of me because I'm always at the theater. So I would say see theater all the time, and then I would say when you have time for it, your community theater is always there for you, ready to have you be in a show. So you can always find an outlet that way to do it once you have the time. Okay. Wow, it's 19 minutes already. Here we go. We're maybe just over halfway through. Jordan Rees, class of 2021. Okay, thank you for the kind words. Okay, graduation is a year away and I'm a little scared to start a full journey in this career. What was your experience starting out? Audition stories, how you settled in New York, what dues did you pay to get where you are now? I moved to New York when I was 19. I got a job waiting tables the day that I moved there. And I was so excited even just to be waiting tables in New York because it was my dream to live there. It can be scary, but I honestly, and I did feel a little scared, but I was too excited. I just pressed the gas all the way down and went for it. Audition stories, I mean, the biggest audition thing is what they say, you know, for every job I got, there was hundreds that I didn't get, so it's a lot of rejection. I would say surround yourself with people that support you and that you respect and that you enjoy being around, a community of people that you love, and try to stay connected to your joy. And New York has so much to offer, so try and find those things in New York that make you feel joyful. What is your opinion on belting a song? What is your opinion on belting a song that's supposed to be in head voice and vice versa? I would say there's no rules. Just do whatever you feel. That's my opinion. Can you please entertain us with any and all on-stage or backstage mishaps during a performance you were doing, whether it was a concert or a show? On-stage or backstage mishaps? One time at a concert, a woman came on stage and gave me a drink. That was funny. And I love spontaneous moments, especially in concerts. I love leaning into those. I love when the unprepared moment happens. That's the magic moment, I think. If you could gender bend any of Sutton Foster's roles and perform it, what would it be and why? Probably Millie, because I saw it 6 times and I love that show. In this time of quarantine, how are you staying centered, keeping up your health, and do you have any tips in making sure things like your voice stay well oiled, as we are singers and performers? Doing the workouts, doing the movie club, cooking my own food, and as far as the voice staying well oiled, I guess I'm singing in the shower and singing things that I love. I think it's easy to get neurotic about singing, so anytime you get to just sing for fun and just sing what you love is always really great for me. I've watched nearly every episode. This is still Jordan. I've watched nearly every episode of Side by Side by Susan Blackwell. How did those fun videos with her come about? Do you have any more fun stories about your goats? They came about because Susan and I had met and we were friends and she asked me to do it and I said yes. And any more fun stories about my goats? There's still hundreds of them and they're still falling over and freezing if you scare them, and I don't have any specific fun stories though, but just goats are kind of fun in general, I guess. Okay, Natalie Rauch, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, class of 22. What was your favorite song to perform on Glee? Bohemian Rhapsody, probably. Aaron Maxwell, class of 22. Thank you so much. Here's her questions. Okay. And thank you also, everyone, for the kind things that you're saying. I'm just not reading those aloud. What is the hardest lesson you've had to learn in your industry? Oh, probably that there's a lot of miserable people in this industry. You would think that, everybody working so hard to break into the business would feel so lucky once they got there. But there's negative pockets, and there's just people that aren't passionate about what they're doing, and you can end up in rooms with them trying to be creative. And it's a reminder to me that I have to keep reminding myself and asking myself why it is I do what I do. Because I think if you forget or lose your connection to that why, it can make you miserable. What is the most difficult part of your artistic process? The most difficult part of your artistic process? I would say that when I'm doing a play or a musical, the rehearsal room can feel awkward to me because of the bright lights and the close proximity to the people watching. Once I get into a theater and the lights are down and I'm in front of an audience, I feel very free. But sometimes in a rehearsal process, I feel self-conscious because of the close proximity to people. What's the first book that made you cry? I think it was A Prayer for Owen Meany, Erishay Borden, and my English teacher in high school, R.I.P. Erishay Borden. How can you find inspiration to pursue your passion when the job market appears increasingly dense and intimidating, right? I would have to go back to focus on the things that are in your control. Taking classes, getting better, finding inspiration on your own, finding work on your own, finding people you love to collaborate with, finding people that inspire you, focusing on the things that you can focus on, not focusing on the job market, which is so like a pendulum swinging back and forth. Okay. When you are feeling uninspired, what are some ways that you can get out of your head and feel creative again? I will always go back to Barbra Streisand videos, old Barbra Streisand clips of her singing, watching people that I love perform. I just watched Beyonce's Homecoming. I mean, I can't sleep after I watch that. That gets me so excited and feeling creative. Also exercise, big one for me for feeling creative and getting all that stuff out. Okay, we're getting close, you guys. 26 minutes. God bless you if you're still watching. Okay, Vanessa Robastelli, class of 21. What was it like playing alongside Leah Michelle, who I know is one of your close friends? How did your character come about? How was he written into the show? What were your favorite songs? Favorite song, probably Bohemian Rhapsody. I spoke already to how great it was to work with Leah. And the character came about for me because I'd worked with Ryan Murphy already on a pilot that had not gotten picked up before Glee. And so we had a relationship. I actually introduced Leah to Ryan during Spring Awakening. And so he said he wanted to write a part for me that was the opposite of my personality, which was Jesse St. James. And it was such a blast to do. Terry Bradley, mother of Emma Bradley, class of 22. Hi, Terry. She wants to thank you, everyone, again for the nice things you're saying. She wants to know, in Mindhunter, how did you train for the role? Did you go to Quantico? Are there former agents on site to consult and advise? I didn't go to Quantico. I was still doing Hamilton when we were prepping Mindhunter, but Holt did go to Quantico and had a great time there. And how did you train for the role? It's funny because when I had my first meeting with David Fincher, he said, you're in practically every scene of this first season and you can't get sick for 9 months. So are you ready to go to Pittsburgh and work every day? That excited me, actually. I was like, yes, I can't wait to work every day. And so it's funny because the training was kind of physical training of having a bunch of lines to learn every day, trying to stay healthy. I would wake up every morning and I would go for a 4-mile run. That involved sometimes 3:30 on a Monday morning before a 5 a.m. call time. But I would do it every day in the snow and every weather element that we were there in Pittsburgh to keep my mind and my body sound. I ate really well during that period of time. And I really lived like a monk. We rehearsed on Saturdays. We had Sunday off. I would learn my lines on Sunday. I was very kind of disciplined in preparation for that part. Okay, we're almost done. There's just a few more questions. If you've continued watching, wow, that's impressive. Okay, here we go. These are the last few questions. Maggie Fields. Her question is, do you have any tips on how to get a job on Broadway, not just in performance, but maybe in management, tech, or directing? Oh, wow, okay. What's your favorite thing about working in the Broadway community? I don't know how to get into management or tech, but I would recommend whoever's work you're a fan of in management or tech, lighting designers, stage managers, work that you've appreciated. I would recommend in this day and age writing them a letter or finding them online or just sort of knocking on doors. That's and asking questions. That would be my recommendation for that. My favorite thing about working in the Broadway community, is just the talent level. Being surrounded by the best. I mean, the idea that things are made, plays are oftentimes made in New York, and then they travel the country, and then their high schools are doing them, and the gift of being in a city where there's all these geniuses, where you get to be around a Lin-Manuel Miranda, or Michael Mayer, or all the amazing directors and writers that are there, and performers, and just the best of the best. It's so inspiring. That's probably my favorite thing about working in the Broadway community. And then Melanie says, 2 questions. How did you get involved in 36 Questions podcast? It's got it through my agent. They asked me to do it. How does performing in an audio-only production change the way you approach your performance? What potential do you see for this medium, and will you do more? If you haven't listened to 36 Questions, great podcast musical. Thank you for asking about it, Melanie. I don't change anything. It's sort of like the Disney Frozen thing. You're acting it all out, but there just happens to be a mic there. And oftentimes, the more physical you get, the better the audio is, because it feels more like a real performance. What potential do I see for the medium? I hope they do more of them. It was really fun, and I would absolutely do more. Her second question is, which project that you've been a part of has changed your world most, and in what way? Same question, but which has influenced your craft most? I would say the thing that changed my world most, my personal world, is Looking, because it was the first time I played a gay character over the course of years, and it forced me to come to terms with and embrace my sexuality and my identity in a way that I wouldn't have been able to otherwise. And that was such a gift and such an amazing blessing of an experience. It changed me forever. Same question, which has influenced your craft most? Wow, I mean, they all have. I would say Spring Awakening, technically doing that show 8 times a week for 2 years. It's the longest I've ever done a show. The discipline of that was very informative craft-wise. I mean, so was Looking in the sort of fluidity of the scenes and the improvisational nature of the beats. And then working with David Fincher, who's incredibly technical. You've got to really be, it's almost like ballet dancing. Through acting. It's very satisfying, and it's very technical. So that also influenced me. But every director and every project influences me craft-wise. Okay, and now here comes the last question from, this is the end, you guys. It's been 33 minutes. This is the last one. Grace Lewis, 22. Funniest slip-up in a show you may have had? All I can think of is laughing at Christian Borle. That's probably that was funny to me because he's funny. We would laugh a lot. Was making the video for Run Joey Run on Glee as fun as it looked? Any memories that stand out from it? Grace, I'm going to tell you that I don't remember making Run Joey Run. Oh, I kind of remember it now. I think that was in the first season, and I think we were outside. Well, I guess that answers your question. Do any memories stand out from it? No, sadly. Isn't that hilarious? I don't remember it. And the last question is, what is your favorite memory of growing up in Lancaster? Oh, that's a good one to end on. I would say putting on my mom. I have incredible parents. And my mom let me dress up like Mary Poppins for Halloween when I was 3. And my brother and I and our friends put on a production of The Wizard of Oz in my dad's barn where I played Dorothy. So just being young and playing pretend in the idyllic kind of country atmosphere is probably my favorite memory of growing up. I also have lots of great memories of working at EPAC and at the Fulton Opera House. And those experiences really changed my life, and a great experience at Conestoga Valley, doing theater. Yeah, so lots of great memories of growing up in Lancaster. I feel really grateful to be from here, and I just love it here. And so thank you, F&M students, for your questions. Joanna Underhill, thank you so much for orchestrating all of this, and I look forward to, we did it in 35 minutes, if you've watched this whole thing. And thank you, Joanna, for having me, and I look forward to the time when we can all be in the same room together and actually collaborating in person, because this is the perfect example that collaborative conversation is so much more interesting than someone just talking. Remember that when you go into your next rehearsal room. The conversation is so much more interesting than the prepared monologue. Bye.